All right, guys, we are live.
Alrighty.
Hey,
Good evening, everybody.
hey
Welcome.
guys, good evening. Good evening.
Welcome back.
Oh, good. We don't have viewer on YouTube already. Hi,
Huh.
YouTuber.
Hey, yes.
YouTube from those stick.
I know, right?
Love
I
it.
know.
YouTube farm those stick.
And welcome to Facebook guests. Welcome, welcome.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna say like typical Facebook users. Don't forget to share the live, guys.
I love it. I love it. Most
Share the
importantly,
live.
share the live, guys. Share the live, guys.
Oh gosh.
I am weak.
Okay, it is Thursday. We are doing this.
Yes, ma'am.
Boy.
Is mommy who on TV? Hi, relax girl.
Hi, Auntie Beverly. Hello. Good evening.
Chasing, huh?
Oh gosh, I love it though. I love it. I love
It's
it.
like
I
I
love it.
love watching Ali on
I
TV.
love it.
We like watching
Listen,
myself on TV too.
we had
Soon
the heat
we'll be
wave,
there.
right?
Mm.
Anise,
Oh,
What's that?
this week was the week for the heat wave, don't?
Listen.
I think Tuesday
Wow.
was the worst.
Wow. And
what?
then out of the blue nowhere it had hail.
I was like, because everybody prepped for this heat wave. I am on work and I'm like, guys, drink water.
Yep.
We're ready. We need to do this. Then I check my stories. I was like, hail.
Listen. I watched
What?
my
What? Well,
I
I got
watched my
hell.
AC
Are you
several
tapping on?
times.
Oh
Hey,
wow.
Auntie Ali.
Hi, Auntie
Hi,
How's your
Allison.
Jessica.
this AC not on 18, right? What's it saying? Why it's so hot?
Listen,
Not
we
even
have
AC.
no, it was really hot. The AC wasn't even helping. At work, we
No.
have an AC unit that's loud, right? I don't like noise.
Right.
So I was like, "Ollie, I can't even think with this thing on. And I take it off. My coworker reached outside so fast. So how will I take off the AC? It hot. Like less than 2 seconds. He was like, put it on.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody could deal with me and my I don't like noise that day. I was like, listen, Miss
Listen.
Lady, figure out how to think in this noise because this is not it.
Yeah.
Good night, Anna. Good night, Miss Phyllis.
Good
Good night, good night.
evening. Hey, hey, hey,
Hey.
hey. Keep your ears
Hello.
to the dance girl. Watch ya.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good night.
Oh God. I didn't. So how long will I have this heat wave?
Oh no, it finished. It finished. We had rain
Yeah,
and
it's
things today. It
over.
was like a
It's
couple
Oh,
days,
over.
but
okay.
we had enough hype around it.
Yeah.
Enough hype.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To expect things like fainting and I mean necessary. It was necessary, but
Yeah.
yeah. I think Tuesday was the worst of it.
Yes.
Yeah, Tuesday was.
Christ.
Fire and brimstone horse.
Listen, Tuesday was terrible. Tuesday
Did
was
I ever
terrible.
pass in Trinidad? I can't take that heat wave business, huh?
I still don't
Can't
think
take
ours
it.
is Auntie
Hey,
Sherry
Ari.
inside
Sherry
Night,
early.
night,
Marcus.
night.
Good
Good
night,
Good
good
night,
night,
night.
good
Marcus.
night. Yeah, nah. I still don't think ours was anything like what I have experienced in the US with heat
Mm.
waves. Because that, I remember coming out of my room and
Right.
feeling like I couldn't breathe, you know. I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
what the devil is this?
Because it had no breeze,
No
no type
breeze.
of
You're
breeze,
feeling
no
like you're
wind, no nothing.
stifling.
Exactly.
I
Good
couldn't do
night,
it.
Savvy.
Hi, Savi. Good night, good night, good night, good night,
It is
good
you
night.
must not love him. Boy, you get only kisses the last time. Sorry.
Papa
Sorry.
loves. Papa
Why
loves.
Anissa mute?
Really?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
doing like a
Ah.
typical Facebook person and sharing the live.
Eh, say less.
Share the live, Ollie.
Say
You know
Share
how
less.
the
the
Say,
sailors
live.
go.
say less. Say less. Say less. Say less. Oh, it is Thursday. I think today was a long day, but I'm happy that we're here. Today was a long day, but
Aww.
this is the best part, you know?
Of the week, right? Come
Yes,
here
yes.
Thursday.
I look forward to Thursdays. I look forward to Thursdays.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
We're 4 minutes in, so we're about to start. All right.
Yes, we're ready.
We
Alrighty, we're ready.
ready?
Let's do
We
this.
ready? Hi, Keishel.
Hi,
Hey!
Kishelle. Hello.
All right, let the countdown begin. Hi.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. And well, I'm saying good evening, good evening, good evening. And all I'm thinking in my head is why Trinidadians do that? Why we
Yeah,
can't one good evening, right? Like morning, morning.
yeah. We can't do one. It's not one.
No, it just
But
doesn't
never.
feel
It's
right. It
emphasis.
doesn't feel
Yeah,
right, you know. So good evening, everybody. Good evening. Hi, Dalton, and everybody who logged on early. I am Akila. Tonight we are talking about unspoken trauma and
Mm,
finding your voice. This is a serious topic. A little bit of a heavier topic than what we usually do, but a very, very necessary topic.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
going to let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
Hey, everybody. It's Anissa. I'm here. We're halfway through the season. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for rocking with us. I'm excited. As usual, we're looking forward to chatting it up.
yay. What's good, everybody? I am JC. We here tonight. Serious topic, serious topic. So hopefully in the seriousness, we find growth and we can laugh
Yeah,
a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
learn a little bit tonight, right?
yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yes.
So thanks for
Dalton
Yes,
being
said he
yes.
back.
missed us.
Oh,
Oh,
Dalton.
You can
Dalton, we
always
here
catch the
today, and we
replay.
yes, 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 yes. So
Yeah.
tonight we're talking about
Silent.
silencing, and we are talking about unspoken trauma and finding your voice. So when we think about silencing and when we think about trauma, really what we're talking about is the things that happen to us a lot of times in childhood or as children that affect the way we view the world and the way we navigate the world as adults. And a lot of times, some of the things that we go through, they are traumatic, yes, but there are external factors that prevent us from even being able to speak about it as an adult. Like there are some
Yeah,
things I'm sure if you talk to almost any person, they're going to tell you, listen, there are some things I never tell nobody. I
Mm-hmm.
can't talk to anybody about. It
yeah,
has something was just dread, was terrible, right?
mhm,
And they've never gotten the chance to work through some
yeah,
of those things to get to a point where they can heal and navigate the world in a way that the world just doesn't feel like people are against them and everything is set up against them and those sort of things. But
yeah,
when we're talking about trauma and we're talking about silence, and there are two things that I want to highlight, right?
mhm,
The one that we are focusing on is something that is called complex post traumatic stress disorder.
yeah,
And this a lot of times affects the way that we navigate the world, the way that we see the world, the way that we do things, right? So when we're looking at that, so we most of us are accustomed with PTSD. So PTSD is a mental health condition. People usually have difficulty recovering after experiencing a traumatic
mhm,
event, and symptoms could include anxiety, flashbacks, insomnia, avoidant behaviors, etc. Right? So
yeah,
that's PTSD. But when we start dealing with complex PTSD, and the thing is, complex PTSD is something that we've now started seeing research coming out on. So a lot of times people
correct.
will have treatment for PTSD, but not complex
Yeah,
PTSD. So complex PTSD is a mental health condition. You experience some of the symptoms of PTSD, but additionally, you experience things like emotional dysregulation, interpersonal difficulties, and negative self concepts. So
Mm.
it's this idea that we have, or that we see people having, where they're like, listen, I am wrong. I always do bad things. I am always
Yeah.
a terrible person. Nothing is ever going.
Mhm.
So you take a lot of things that happen to you and you project it, or you own it, and then you
Mhm.
carry that as a part of your identity, right? And
Yeah.
while PTSD is related to one traumatic event, CPTSD is related to chronic exposure to trauma at an early age, and it impacts your sense of self and your sense of agency and your perception of the world around
Mhm.
you. So that's just to put it in a scientific way what it is we're talking about. But really, what the topic is about is us discussing the ways trauma would have affected us and how that would have taken away our agency in terms of advocating for ourselves, in
Yeah.
terms of setting clear boundaries in place, and even in terms of just speaking up and sharing our stories. And this is
Yeah.
really important because stories are what connect us. And the more we tell our stories and the more we allow people to tell their stories, is the more room we create for healing
Mhm.
and for growth and for development. So
Yeah.
that's the idea around our topic tonight. And it's something that we don't speak about enough. We don't speak about the many times that kids go to their parents to let them know that something happened or something was wrong. And rather than hear them out, the parents silence them. So
Yeah.
then, as an adult, when something goes wrong, instead of speaking up or speaking out,
Correct.
we become silent. We say
Yeah.
nothing. And so we find ourselves in cycles of abuse because
Mhm.
we've essentially lost our voice, or giving
Yeah.
up, lost our ability to use our voices to advocate for ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that's silencing in a nutshell. And there's a lot that we could dive in and talk about, right? But what I want us to start, the direction I want us to go in right now, is what are the effects of silencing. So we know what silencing is in a
Yeah.
nutshell, and we have an idea of what happens when we experience traumatic events and lose our voice. But maybe Jace, you could give us shed some light on what are the effects of silencing.
All right. So I know silencing, that's our culture in a sense, right? Especially growing up in the Caribbean.
I was just gonna say that.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
that's that's our culture.
Yep.
We know from young, hush him out. There's a
Yeah,
young girl coming in thing and you want to open your mouth to tell you one time, hey, hush him out and go somewhere. So sometimes, it doesn't even let me rephrase that because I try not to step on toes.
just we now start, man.
Yeah.
Ho ho.
Let me
Listen,
start, let me start, let me start.
by now, our followers know. Come with your benge.
You take a
Wait, let me
spell
see if I can find it.
early.
Come with your, oh, look at here. Bangus, benge, whatever you call it.
Yeah,
Come with your benge when they come in here, because toes will be stepped on.
yeah,
Right.
it's
Go through,
our
JC.
culture. They made us to be silent because they didn't want people to look at you in a different way. They
Yeah.
Gotcha.
did not really consider the effects that it will have on us. So,
Mhm.
as a child, when we want to say something, first we have to think about, all right, if I open my mouth, what's going to happen? We might get
Right.
yelled at.
Mhm.
Licks.
We will get the runway. Hey, go
Yeah.
from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or one thing that I did realize too, like a lot of us, we was doubted.
Yeah.
They doubt what we
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you never see that. You never see that. That never happened. Or they'll be
Right.
like, why does child always making things up? You always making something up because they don't
Right.
want to share light on the situation.
Yeah.
Right? Or we get serious cutters.
Yep.
Exactly.
Basically.
Exactly.
Dreadlocks.
Yep.
Dreadlocks
Yep.
will be passing,
I
right?
get
Yeah.
relics from my mouth. I used to say things. I was always opinionated. I am still opinionated, right? But I used to get licks for that more than anything. Like, killer, shut up.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That
I,
for till
I
sure.
we grow up knowing to shut up.
Yep.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
serious thing happening in the household, whether it's serious thing with you, serious thing that you see, serious thing with your neighbor, or anything happening,
Mhm.
serious things are happening, and the only thing you know, the only response you know is to shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
and we don't understand how that affects us. Like, one, we be in situations and we scared to say, like, it's how scared, like scared to say something. You
Yeah.
know what, that terror
Yeah.
to say something,
Fair.
and yeah, and we don't understand, by us, the effects of us being silent is that it takes away our power,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it
right?
does.
We lose our identity because we don't know how to speak up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing we do is that we find ourselves sitting and waiting for something to happen. Like, we don't want to say nothing because we don't want nothing to happen. So you
Yeah.
know what? I just hush in my mouth, and whatever happen
Yeah. Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an
Yep.
ostrich. We stick our heads in the
Yeah,
sand, our bodies exposed, and we're like, we safe. And this
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
fine.
For your
Everything is
whole body
fine. We're good. We're
exposed.
good. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So we just sit down with the whatever happen happen. Me ain't doing nothing with that.
Yeah.
And then issues happening, and you're waiting until it blow up in the fan. What did I say? You wait until the shit hit the
Pretty
fan, and
fun.
then
Yep.
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
want to be in it, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Lynn Paul is saying speaking up was considered
So
disrespectful.
disrespectful,
Disrespectful.
You're absolutely right.
especially, and we have to address this tonight, especially
Girls.
for girls.
Yes.
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 Like, this
Yes.
stupid ideology of a woman, a
Ladies
girl
must be
should
A
be
seen and not
seen and
seen
not
and
heard.
not
heard.
heard.
I hate that statement.
Like,
I have heard it so
I
many
couldn't
times.
confirm to it. I
that
couldn't
don't
confirm to
Ladies
define.
it.
must be seen and not heard. So if I speak up, I'm somehow not a lady. I'm not feminine. I'm not worthy of
Exactly.
being protected and cared for because oh God, you're so loud.
Yeah.
What?
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I used to ask a certain individual. Sorry, I'm not gonna call the name tonight, but a certain individual, when that person used to tell me, I said, so then why God made a mouth on me? If I was
Yeah,
supposed to be seen, I wouldn't have a mouth.
Yeah.
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 Anyways,
Which
tonight.
in itself,
I ain't
which
second
in
one
itself is
close.
contradicts itself because how you see me without hearing me?
Hearing me?
How do you know I'm there when I'm silent? Most times when you're silent,
Exactly.
you're ignored. So like
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
never liked it. I
Yep.
never liked it. And we teach and that's what we were taught. So now you're
Yep.
older and you really do not know
No,
how to
how
How?
speak
to.
up for
Yeah.
yourself because it was
Exactly.
always
Yep. Or as
covered.
Auntie Sherry Ann is saying, she says that, or we internalize it and then bring it out as inappropriate,
Appropriate,
sarcastic
sarcastic.
Ah,
jokes. And
Exactly.
that is
ah,
the truth. And growing up, that was another form of silencing that we
yes,
experienced as children, where things happened that were traumatic to us, or that was important to
right.
us, and rather than deal with it as something important, the family just joked about it constantly, and it was things including your body image, something, an
Yes,
event that would have
ridicule.
happened, all of these things, and it became a joke, and everybody laughed about it. And 9 times out of 10, to save face, you laugh, your little weird laugh too.
Yeah,
But
Exactly.
deep down inside, it cut deep.
yes,
It cut really, really deep, and it
yeah,
affected you as an adult. And so you go into adulthood carrying around all these insecurities, but also not knowing how to say, listen, I don't like that. That
yeah,
makes
Exactly.
me uncomfortable. Please don't do that. Because
yes,
as children, we were told we were being disrespectful. We were
yeah,
told that we were making other people uncomfortable. And we were made to be responsible for other
For other
people's
people's
emotions.
feelings.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's where we learn that you put other people above yourself,
Above
which takes you
yourself.
into self. We
And
now we
then,
understand why we do it because we just don't know how we were
and
taught.
then when you get older, they start telling you, like, oh no, you have to put yourself first. You have to put yourself first.
And we
Nah,
literally
but
don't know how.
you taught
And
me
you
how
really
to
do not
be
know
this
how.
particular way. I don't know how to
Exactly.
be. My whole life you told me to
Yeah.
shut up and be careful of what you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, because somebody else's feelings will be involved, or people's life will be
Exactly.
involved.
Yep.
But
Yep.
then
Yep.
in my life, I don't know how to speak up for my own self.
And
Correct.
then
Jace,
go ahead.
Mhm.
like a couple weeks ago, earlier in the year, actually, I did a session with some older women, and I was just talking about self care. And to me, I thought everybody know how to, you can take care of yourself. And a lady in her 50s is literally asking me, yeah, but how do I do that? And I'm explaining. And in her mind, she's like, yeah, but how do I do that? That's where I come from.
Wow.
Yeah.
She honestly has no
No
idea
idea. No
how
idea.
to voice how she feels. She's like, I'm always tired. I'm always putting people before myself. I really do not know how. Now I'm retired and I'm miserable. Those were her
Wow.
words, not mine.
Right, right,
She's like,
right.
now I'm retired and I'm miserable because I really do not know how. It's so damaging.
Yeah,
But
it
imagine
is.
how many young girls can't even speak about period
Oh,
or
Yeah.
about their vagina. Sorry to put it out
correct.
there. Beep.
No,
You
like
know, but because these things, because it's so hush hush in the
Yeah.
home, and they're telling you, oh no, you can't talk about that. Call it another
Yes.
name. Don't
yeah,
Yeah.
don't don't say
yeah,
that. That's too vulgar.
Hmm.
No, these
yeah, yeah.
let
Like,
them
okay,
speak.
let me make a light joke here, right? Only remember when you couldn't say fat,
Ugh.
Because
Yeah, so say
or
oops.
you couldn't say fat, you had to say
kind of
pumps.
rude. You're rude. You're
Exactly, because that's
disrespectful.
rude.
It's
And
true.
you could not tell an older person you're lying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, to
Are
say a
you
How
fib.
dare
mad?
you? How
You
dare
better say
you?
fibbing or you're storying. Are
Becca
you
has.
storying? Listen, you are telling a lie. You are
You're
a
lying.
liar.
You're lying. You're lying. But there's a
But
flip
go
side to
ahead.
it too, right? In
Hmm.
that we either become very silent or we become very aggressive. And
Right.
Mm-hmm.
in being very aggressive, we still don't address the issues in the way that they should be addressed. So we
Right.
lash out, we become loud, nothing is making sense. And so we're going through life just very aggressive, very
Hmm.
hard on everybody because now you feel like, no, I have a voice and I am going to use it for everything. So there is no
Hmm.
filter.
Hmm.
So you
Exactly.
going through life just hurting people and creating trauma now.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
anybody says anything, it's like, listen, this is my opinion. This is how I am. This is
Yeah.
my voice, and all
Yeah.
of that stems from not being able to
Being
Yeah.
express yourself in a healthy way from childhood, and that is trauma. That is a traumatic thing that you went
Hmm.
through, and you have to now do the work to get yourself to that point where you understand that, listen, this is my voice and
yeah.
I can use it, and I don't
Yeah.
have to use it in an aggressive way in order to be heard, but I
Right.
still should use it and advocate for self. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's also another effect is we make more assumptions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
always
You're so right.
assuming that, you know what? Nah, them go figure it out. You know
Yeah.
what? It go all work out. Me really dealing with that. You know what? I'm not getting involved. That go pass.
Yeah.
We make assumptions because we are so scared to actually address the issue
Yeah.
that we just will assume that things will be it will be dealt
It will be
with.
dealt with. It will be
Right.
dealt with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a major thing, a major effect of keeping silent is after something happened, you sit with the guilt and you sit down with the what if, the
Ooh.
coulda, woulda,
You
shoulda.
should.
Yep.
Yeah. It's true.
You see
Yeah.
that part, most of us sit down and deal with that.
Yeah.
I shoulda do something. I coulda real go and talk to the police about that, you know.
Yeah.
I coulda say something about this.
Yeah.
What if I did do that? That person would have probably still
Yeah.
be here or should I never get beat.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and when these are the effects of
Mm-hmm.
keeping silent.
Yeah.
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 So guys, I know being silent cannot do any good for nobody,
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
including your own self.
Yeah.
Right? And if you are a vocal person, I plead today to speak up for a person who isn't vocal
Yep.
because that person will be grateful for your voice.
Yeah.
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 They really
Yeah.
will need your voice.
Yeah. And I like what Tarian is saying.
Yeah.
And she says that keeping silent is so dangerous for relationships when you become an
An
adult.
adult. Yep.
And that is so true. Sometimes
Yeah.
we go into our adult relationships, and because we never learn how to speak up, we
Mm-hmm.
don't speak up and we hold a lot of things in, and we do some of the things that JC spoke about just now, where we make assumptions. And I
Mm-hmm.
think hand in hand with assumptions is we make excuses for people and for other people's behavior. We come up with
Yes.
the excuses so that we don't need to speak, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationships as adults become rocky because we realize that we don't really have a solid foundation because there's no truth and there's a level of realness that's missing. And so
Exactly.
we are unhappy, we become unhappy, and we continue to be unhappy, and then we're like, you know what, relationships suck and relationships don't work. And that's it. We just don't know how to
Correct.
communicate as adults
Mhm.
because we didn't learn how to speak up
How
and
to do it.
communicate as
Correct.
children,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
So I read this analogy about silencing and losing your voice, right? And it was an analogy that was made towards the Little Mermaid when she went to
Yeah,
Queen
I saw that
Ursula,
one. Yeah.
Oh
and
wow.
she went to Queen Ursula and she wanted to become human to get Prince Charming. We know the story, but the
Mhm.
deal was she could have feet but no voice. And
Yeah.
so, even though while she was walking around on earth and on the sand, and her feet were in pain, she couldn't say that. There was no way for her to express what she wanted. So, people were constantly assuming and doing whatever they felt was right. And
Right.
that made the problem even worse for her, right? So think about it in that way when you think about silencing and if you are being silenced. So
Mhm.
a lot of times what it feels like is like you are carrying around a pain, like you feel the pain, you feel uncomfortable,
Yep.
but you
Yes.
don't have the capacity to say.
Yep.
And it's not that when I say you don't have the capacity, it's not your vocal cords don't work, they work fine, but you carry around the weight of other people's expectations. So you
Yeah.
don't want to upset anyone, you don't want to disappoint anyone, you're worried about the backlash if you do speak up. So rather than speak up and say, listen, I don't like when this happens, or you
Yeah.
did this and I don't like it, or I didn't
Yeah.
like it, what we do is we just carry it around and constantly remain with that pain and constantly carry that pain. And that just adds to all the stress. We become sick
Yes.
and all of these other spill on effects that happen because
Yeah.
we couldn't say what we wanted to
Me
say.
too.
And all
Yeah.
because as children, we were told to shut up
To shut up.
because we were being disrespectful, right? So
Yes.
we want to look at some of the signs that you've lost your voice and the importance of speaking up, right? So the first thing, or one thing in terms of the importance of speaking up, I believe in stories, right? I believe in the
Mhm.
power of stories and being able to tell a story because for me, the way I connect with people best is through conversations and through stories. And a lot of times, if I am going through something, somebody just telling me, hey, Keels, it will get better, doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't, it very rarely does that help
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
But when I talk to somebody or interact with someone or hear a story where somebody says, yo, this happened to me, like I went through this particular thing, and a real example this week. One of my friends on Facebook shared that, yo, 10 years ago, I was worried about my future. I was worried about my life. I was worried about if things are going to work out the way I want them to work
Wanted
out.
to.
And I was just so
Yeah.
scared and I was just so disappointed in where I was at and what was happening. Right
Hmm.
now, she shared that. And that spoke to me so deeply because at that point in time, I was going through that. Like I was thinking, like, yo, what is happening? Like, I don't know that I'm where I want to be. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know how to get to where I want. And I was going through all these thoughts about, damn, what is happening with my life? And then
Yeah.
in her story of, yo, I was exactly at the place you are at. And 10 years
Right.
later, I am saying it worked out. And that put me at ease. Just that one story of her
Mm.
being able to
Yeah.
say, yo, I had this terrible experience and it worked out. I kind of went, yo, things work out, killer. Like
Mm.
you've
Yeah.
been here, this has happened before, and it's worked out, and you're not where you used to be, and you're doing okay. Right
Yeah.
now, the thing is, somebody just telling me, yo, that will work out, don't worry yourself. It didn't connect as much. And so that's why I think it's important for us to tell our stories and to find our voices because there are so many other people that are hurting that
Yeah.
need to hear our stories in order to heal. And there are
Right.
so many stories that we need to hear in
Mhm.
order to heal because with trauma, it feels like a lot of times like you are in it alone. Nobody
Yep.
knows it. Nobody
Yeah.
went through this. It is me
Yeah.
alone. Doom
Yeah.
and gloom. Nobody knows what I'm talking about. And you hear
Yeah.
one person's story or one community start sharing their story and like, yo, all right, I in this and I have people and I can get it
Yep.
done. And so for me, I think that's why it's so important that we allow kids to speak up and that we
Mhm.
allow other people to speak up and that we do the work to find our own voices and find the right spaces to speak up so that we can help other people. But
Yeah.
Nisa, maybe
Also,
you
we
could talk.
listen.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the listening. We
Yeah.
have Jesse, the
Yeah.
listening is coming
We
up
have
tonight. We're
to.
gonna talk
Yeah.
about
It's
listening.
We
definitely
have
listen.
to. We
We
have to.
have to.
Yeah.
But
One of the
maybe
One
Go
of these
ahead.
signs. So kids, I will talk a little bit about one of these signs that you are actually experiencing silencing.
Right.
Because we saying it may sound vague to you, but I want to be a little more specific.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the signs that you are experiencing silencing, or that you have been silenced, is being extremely accommodating.
Mm.
Ah, ah,
My very good friend, I don't know which side I'll see now on. My very good friend called me out on this. And this is something personal for me. I would be hurt by something, right? But I would understand because I know they're going through a hard time.
yeah,
So I dim down. We kind of mentioned it earlier, right?
yeah,
So
Mm-hmm.
I would dim down my feelings and put myself second,
yeah,
accommodating,
yeah,
because, well, I understand that this is why this person is doing this. They're only lashing out because they feel that way. If
yeah,
you notice yourself always being accommodating, you are never taking into consideration how you feel.
yeah,
Yeah.
Without making an excuse for somebody else, you are probably experiencing
In
silencing.
silence.
yeah,
Okay.
Something else that a lot of people do is being resistant to change. You
yeah,
Mm.
are to positive change. Let me rephrase that. You are very resistant to positive change. So
yeah.
anytime something good happens to you, you are suspicious. Why
Mm.
he come?
Ooh,
Why he talking to me? He probably want this.
yeah.
What does you want? Why you want to be my friend? I do that a lot.
Yeah.
Like the
Ooh,
minute somebody mommy do
listen.
not comment, eh? The minute somebody new come in my space, I feel so overwhelmed. It just shuts me down. I like
Oh wow.
what I want. Why you want to be my friend? Like and
Yep.
people would not believe this because I am always in the open. I'm always in the public eye, and people are seeing me all the time. But it's like because you experience that shutdown all
Yeah.
the time, it's like something new is strange to you, and so you resist anything that looks positive. Let me tell you this. So I had a class, start my class the other day, right? Out of the 30 something people in this class, this one fella decided to message me, not on us shippiness, right? Like, hey, we in the same class. Where's he seeing? I like,
Hopefully he watching this.
oh God, don't be watching this in Jesus' name. I was like, what you want by so? Why does you want to talk to me out of all the people? Like, why you
Mm-hmm.
want to be my friend? I start questioning, not knowing. The fella will get in maths, you be able to help me. My statistics class, this, that, the other.
Wow.
We have a lot
Wow.
of things in common. But initially I was like, oh, I don't want nothing in
Back
my
up.
space. Don't come here. Come here with
Yeah.
that. I don't have nothing. What you want?
Yeah.
What it is you want? Always suspicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you it's and which leads me to the other point. You feel the need to micromanage. You always
Yeah.
need to be in control.
Yeah.
Those
Mm.
are signs because you've never had the opportunity to voice your opinion. It
Mm.
always feels like it's out of your control. Now you
Yeah.
feel like is what I say, you do as I say, or it's not going
Whoa.
to happen. You have to micromanage. So you plan down to your dental appointment, what time you're gonna leave there, how much time you're gonna spend. All right, I'll be on the road at this point in time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
trauma response. It is a trauma response. And all of these things actually stem from silencing,
I'm
not
silencing.
having your
Whoa.
voice heard, not being given the opportunity for somebody to say, just stop and listen to you, to say, I believe you.
Yeah.
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 I
Yeah.
value
Yeah.
your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though I don't see it that way, I value your opinion. When you have not had those things, that is what happens to you. Was it see you?
Yeah.
One thing I could say is
Yeah,
from what you just said, that it remind me of something, kids when they start to do little white lies, that's a sign of silencing. Because if I tell you the truth and you doubt me,
Yeah.
every time I tell you the truth is either I get in trouble,
yeah,
you beat me, or you
Yeah.
doubt me. Then
yeah,
the only time I will believe that I'm going to be heard is when I lie to you.
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So then I'm going
Yeah.
yeah,
to start lying to you now. And
you're
then I'm going to
right.
start lying to other people because I think the only how I will be heard is
Yeah. Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
Yep.
I teach, you're very right. I teach my daughter that. Like, I have the, all I know how I operate with Kyla. Like, we have the conversation. I say, listen, regardless of how scared you feel,
Yeah.
how bad you think it is, I would rather you tell me the truth. You could come to me and tell me. I give you my word because I'm not making no promise. Promise is a comforter, fool, blah, 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 blah. Right? I give you my word that when you come to me, if you speak the truth, we will reason. But if
Right.
you hide it from me, I would not be able to trust you. And I have a very grown conversation. Grown. It's not a grown conversation. I have a
Yeah.
conversation with
Yeah.
a little person who is trying to figure out the world, because I
Yeah.
don't want her to feel like if I tell her my opinion, and it could be for something simple, like putting on your clothes, choosing
Mm.
whatever clothes you want to wear. You do not hide that. Don't feel that you need to cover that up. Like,
Yeah.
be open, and it's a beautiful thing to watch, because
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
is given the space to say, well, I did such and such, and I know you'll be mad at me, but I'm really sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I forgive you. Let's move on.
Mm.
So that she
Yeah.
doesn't have to grow up thinking secrecy is the way. I can't
Yeah.
say
Exactly.
anything. And that's why some of your children are very secretive. I'm
Yeah.
just
Exactly.
say that right there. They are secretive because they know that if they come to you, you are going to overreact. Yes,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
overreacting. You could be angry. And if you believe in the Bible, you know the Bible say you could be angry and sin not. You could be angry without flying off the top and
Yeah.
pelting the bottle,
Yeah.
Exactly.
and you ain't talking to them for days. And those things are traumatic to a child.
Of course it
When
is.
when your mother does not speak to you for days as a little child, that really affects you. That's not going to help. That is
Yeah.
not going to teach them, oh, well, you disappointed me. I'm so disappointed in you. That does nothing to them. But
No.
what not, it does nothing positive. Let me say that.
Yeah.
It doesn't do
Yeah.
But
anything positive. You are damaging that person.
you're
You are
teaching them to
damaging
people
people.
please, because now
Exactly.
the flip side to that is that when they become adults or even as children, to navigate the world and not have to feel the negative effects of your anger, they will only come to you with things that they think you like, things
You
that are going to
Mm-hmm.
please
exactly.
you. So now they start
Exactly.
feeding into that. Oh, you know what, if I do this, mommy will love me up. If I do that, daddy would I'll get a positive response. So this is how they navigate the world, and it's only because initially you made them feel unsafe by your reaction to
Exactly.
when they made a
Correct.
mistake. And
Yeah.
we as adults, we make mistakes. Like, we make mistakes all the time, and we expect
Yes.
people to understand, yo, that was a mistake, mistakes happen, cool, let's just solve it and move on. But with kids, sometimes we hold them to this unrealistic standard that they are supposed to have it together, they are supposed to know what they're doing, they are
Yes.
supposed to get it right all the time, and that is not, we don't get it right all the time, and
Correct.
they are much younger and now figuring out life the same way. They weren't born with a manual. No one handed them the big book of
We don't
being
have
a kid to an
manuals.
adult. We don't have a manual, right?
Mm.
And so as they grow older, what they do now is they move that people pleasing outside of the family, outside of the
Right.
home, and they start to take it to other
Into a
relationships. So
relationship.
they
Yes.
get into school and they do things so that their friends would like them. They do things so
Correct.
that other people will like them. They get to the job and they do things so that people are going to like them, and they can't function and make a conscious decision or make a
Yeah.
decision that would cause someone to be
Yeah.
disappointed or hurt
Correct.
or angry and
Yeah.
Yeah.
give up their voice in that
Yeah.
setting.
I like
Yeah.
some of the
Mm-hmm.
comments that I've seen. Real
Mm-hmm.
life guru, hi Auntie Beverly. Some people act
Okay,
opposite.
back up.
I lost it. Some people act opposite in that they let people make decisions for them. They
Yeah.
make decisions for them. They never make decisions for
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 themselves.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
There was another
Kushel.
comment. As big as
Kushel.
I am so happy that you felt comfortable enough to share this. As big
Yeah.
as I am fearful of asking for something,
Mm-hmm.
for fear of being told no.
Yeah.
I literally go into a panic mode. I think the worst before I get an
An
outcome.
outcome.
This
Yeah.
And
is
that's
very real.
because you're accustomed being told no, and the worst always comes every time you ask for something.
Correct.
And that's
Or
from childhood.
yeah, or if when you ask it always, even if you get a yes, you get a big dramatic production before
Before
you
you get the
always want
yes.
something, eh? You ain't fed up ask. Go on now, take it. How am I supposed
Yeah,
to feel as a child and much less going
exactly.
into adulthood?
Guilty.
I
You
am going
know,
to feel guilty. I'm going to be afraid.
I
Graduate.
think I think
Yeah.
parenting back then, because I'm not a parent right now, right?
Right.
I could only speak of me as a me as a child growing up and seeing children my time growing up, right? I think parents back then did not take the time out to see how their reactions affected their children. They
Yeah,
didn't think to see that, hey, I made mistakes. My child can make mistakes as well.
yeah,
Right.
I
yeah,
didn't have a healthy home, so my child will have if will be affected by that.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right? So
Yeah.
they put all this pressure and I wouldn't say pressure. They put
Mhm.
all this cut ass on us because that's what it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
Is either we get to try it or we ask cut.
yeah,
And they didn't
Mhm.
talk to us
Right.
yeah,
that the way we needed to. So now we are adults who now have to unlearn all these things. And some of
Yeah.
us we so deep in it.
Yeah. Auntie Sherry said it. So a
yeah.
lot of parents were growing up also.
We're
They
growing up
they
also.
themselves were growing up.
Yeah, yeah. And in as much as we're having this conversation, a meme is coming to mind, right? Like where this
Mhm.
person said, it just dawned on me that my parents were trying to figure out life while raising me and with a lot less resources for mental health at the point in time.
Mhm.
Like and
Yes.
that's so true. So in having the conversation now, especially for the parents that are on here, it's not that we bashing you. Like
Mhm.
listen,
No.
my mother did what she had to do to raise five kids, right?
Exactly.
And I
Exactly.
get that.
Exactly.
I get that. But what I'm saying is that we have to make better decisions in how we deal with children, how we deal with kids, but also we can't just use the excuse of, well, my parents did this, my parents did
Mhm.
that, so this is my response. Like at some point, we have to take responsibility and
Yeah.
deal with the trauma. We have to take I don't get to go into every adult relationship I have or every adult space that I am in and go, oh,
Hmm.
well, I had a traumatic past. And so
No,
this is what it is.
no,
At
that's
some
not
point,
an
I step back and
excuse.
say, okay, I did have a traumatic past. And what
Yeah.
do I do to heal from that
Right.
and
Yeah.
to not cause trauma and to not live a life that is fueled by my past and fueled by my trauma?
You're
And
right.
that
I
is on me.
so agree with that because I think even if you can't fix it as a child, you can't fix it in your adult relationship with your children.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because
yes,
adult as parents, I'm telling you right now, adult children is willing to communicate with you and talk about the things that happen so that they
Yeah.
can have a better relationship with you,
Yeah.
especially the ones who did the work.
Yeah.
yeah,
They
Yeah.
are open to speak with you.
Yeah.
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 And we just
To
have
And
to know
it's
fix
it will
it.
be uncomfortable.
yep. And
The thing
it's
is, we
okay
Course.
if you
avoid
didn't know.
uncomfortable conversations, but it
Yes.
will be uncomfortable. And we just have to accept that me as a child coming to any one of my parents to say, listen, you did this or you said this, and this is how it affected me my entire life, is going to
Right.
feel uncomfortable for the both of us. But if we have that uncomfortable conversation, then we can heal. That will help me, that will help you. And like Auntie Sharon is saying, we have to unlearn
Yeah.
certain things, but if we're not willing to address it, we're not going to
Yeah.
unlearn it. We're just going to keep
Exactly.
repeating the same cycles
Exactly.
over and
Cycle.
over and over.
Yeah.
Until one
And
of
if
your
you if
children say,
yeah,
I'm breaking that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
If you didn't know, okay, that's fine. The resources were not available to you. All right, cool. But now that you have come into the light, you have to do the work.
you have to do the
And it's
work.
hard work. It is hard work.
Hey, it
It
is
is a
hard work and it is a lot of work, but it
yes,
is
yep,
worth it. The work
yes,
is
it
Mhm.
will
worth
be.
it. It is
Yes,
worth
it will
it.
be.
I know parents
Ooh,
probably will think that it's hard to hear your child's experience because
yeah,
and you have to remember your child see and experience things completely different to how you do.
correct.
So when
Yeah,
that child says that or that adults says how they've experienced it, just be open to that. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that they're attacking you or that they're trying to discredit you as a
Yeah.
person. They're just expressing their experience they had with you at a particular time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I always say this, right? I like Auntie Sherry's point, but I'll say this first. People have to learn to separate bad behavior. I had that point for somewhere later down, but I'll address it now. Separate bad behavior from your identity. You
Yeah.
Mm,
did something that's terrible,
Yeah.
or
I'm not
you
a
did
terrible
something
person.
bad. It does not mean that you are a bad person. As
Yeah.
exactly.
a parent, so let's take into parents, right? As a parent, you may have done something that did not help your child. It
Yeah.
didn't make the relationship good, right?
Yeah.
However, it doesn't make you a bad
Bad person
person.
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
bad
People have
parent.
to
No.
learn to set your identity is not locked up in just that one behavior. There are so many layers to you. And speaking about it or addressing it does not mean that you are a bad person. You have to learn. I know it's hard because when somebody says something to that you did to them, it feels like, what? Why are you attacking me? So
Yeah.
all these
Yeah.
things I ever do for you, I never do
Yeah.
nothing.
Yeah.
Why?
Mm,
No,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not what I'm saying. I'm addressing this one issue.
Yeah.
It's an issue. It's not us. It's not people. It's the behavior that I'm attempting for you to
Yeah.
change.
And I think
So
yes.
separate that.
this is a good place to talk about how do we speak up. So we understand that a lot of us lost our voices
Yeah.
through trauma, through CPTSD as
Yeah.
children growing up, right?
Yeah.
But now that we are adults and we keep using certain terminology, like we need to do the work. And what
Yeah.
does that mean, Nisa?
What
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 does it
what
mean
what it
on
looks
how do
like.
we speak up? How do we find
Yeah.
our voice and learn to speak again?
Yeah. Hurt and pain thrives in secrecy.
Mm,
Yeah,
And I know I've said this a million times. Whatever you do not acknowledge will never be addressed.
yeah,
mm,
So it starts there. It starts with acknowledging what exactly is the issue. It's an
yeah,
issue. We have to deal with it. You
yeah,
don't want it to thrive. If you leave it, it will grow. And before you know it, it is out of control. You have to address it. So that's one. Two,
yeah,
letting go of unhealthy beliefs. If you were silenced, if you are that child who grew up in that environment where you were not encouraged to speak out, not encouraged to have an opinion, right? Didn't feel safe talking about things. You have to let go of the unhealthy beliefs. So the things
mm,
in your mind like nobody would believe me, nobody could help me, I'm not worthy. Because let's be real, when people say to you things like shut up, they're not just saying shut up, right? We beg,
yeah,
you beg on your accents, you know what they're saying with that.
oh Lord.
Oh God, you're just like your father, you're dotish,
yeah,
you will never learn. All
yeah,
these
yeah,
things you are hearing it all the time. If you are somebody who would have grown up in that environment, you have to, after you have acknowledged that, you have to let go of those ideas.
yeah,
Fact
Mm,
versus reality. I alone, I don't have nobody. Is it
mm,
factual? Do you
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
literally have
Nobody.
nobody?
Body,
Is
yeah,
it really true? You have to challenge that sense of helplessness and hopelessness and
yeah,
really let go of those unhelpful thoughts, right? The next one is to, oh, so I mentioned earlier that your trauma is not your identity.
Mm,
yeah,
Let it go. Let it go.
yeah,
Obsessing, what we want to do is obsess over problems and not necessarily the fact.
this
Do not, what I mean is, don't rehash that one thing that happened to you over and over and over. So, my
yeah,
mother used to talk to me a particular way. My mother used to talk to me a particular way.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right. All right, but can we move on? How are you going to move on from that?
yeah.
How are
What's the
you
solution?
going to heal from it? Must have a solution.
They must
So
have a
focus
solution.
on the solution and not necessarily on the actual event. And I
Yeah,
feel like people have the reason why people don't ever heal is because they hold on to that. So you
Yes.
hold on to that.
Yes.
This is my little
Your
baby
baby
here.
it.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, your baby.
Yeah, yeah,
What
Well, you
Erica
know,
Badu call it? Baggage?
oh yeah,
The bags. The bag
exactly.
yeah,
lady. The bag
Yes,
lady,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
you really have to. I mean, I know it sounds like it's simple steps, or I'm not making light of it, is what I'm saying. Yes, it happened to you. I believe you. I would believe you. But at some point, you are going to have to let that baggage go and
Mm-hmm.
stop obsessing over the actual event. Because if
yeah,
you don't, if that's all you're focusing on, you would never be healed.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
You would
yeah,
never be healed. Keel shared another point that I had earlier, sharing a story.
yeah.
Yes.
You have the right to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
You have the right to be heard.
Yeah.
The key is to feel the fear and do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you are going to be uncomfortable. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be a hard discussion to have. Yes, you are sometimes it calls for exposing yourself a bit, but you have to do it anyway, because if you don't speak up, you repeat that cycle all over
Yeah.
again. You are hurt, and you are going to, even if you don't directly have children, you would have come across another generation that you would pass that behavior on to.
Yeah.
Share your story by
Yeah.
telling people. Don't be ashamed of what happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Sharing
That's
your
a big
story is
word you
going to
use there,
help.
know.
Yeah, sharing your
Yeah.
story is going to help somebody else. Keela mentioned it before. I
Yeah.
wouldn't look at how much encouragement she got from a post. I am very sure 10 years ago, while she was going through that, she was not feeling the way she felt today.
Exactly.
Right?
But by sharing how I felt,
Yeah.
and being real, I feel like we have a problem being real and being
Yeah.
honest with
Because
Yeah.
people,
of that big
because
word you say,
you
shame.
want to be, yes, you want to be
Yeah.
perceived as having it all together.
Yeah.
And that's a sign, eh? Masking. I probably forget to
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
mention that one.
Masking. Masking is a big
Take
sign.
the mask off. Be honest. Be real. Share your story. You don't
Mm-hmm.
know who you're helping. You might just be helping your own child. Because
Yep.
sometimes you battling with things, and you don't understand, like, where is this coming
Coming
from?
from.
Not
Yep.
knowing your mother, your grandmother, and everybody down the road used to struggle with the same
With
things.
the same thing.
Please, I beg you, speak up.
Yep. Yep.
Speak up.
Yep.
Speak
And
up.
I think another way that you can find your voice and be able to start speaking up is journaling, because for some of
Yes.
us actually speaking helps. Some of us are capable of actually articulating what we're
Yeah.
feeling, but sometimes it feels like there is so much happening in
Mm-hmm.
your head and in your brain that you cannot begin to make sense of it to say to another
Yeah.
person. And
Yeah.
I have been there. Like,
Yes.
I write when I feel like whatever is in my head is just too much to say, and it is not because
Mm-hmm.
I cannot speak. I'm good at speaking. I
Mm-hmm.
have people that I can speak to. I have people that will listen to me. But
Right.
sometimes the things that I feel or the memories that are coming up is
Mhm.
just so overwhelming that I
Right.
just feel
Can't
like I don't
verbalize
have the
it.
capacity to write to
Yeah.
vocalize that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
so in writing that, the important thing is to get a lot of it outside of your head, because in your
Yeah.
head you don't have room to make sense of it. It's
Yeah.
just too much, and you start thinking about one thing and another thought comes and another thought comes, and then you're just wrapped up in all these thoughts in your head. But
Correct.
the moment you start to write, and I can tell you that writing is very therapeutic as well, because I
Yes.
found myself writing at times and crying, like feeling all of the emotions that I
Mm-hmm.
felt when I was
Yes.
experiencing a particular event. But at the end of that, I felt so much lighter.
Yeah.
Like, so,
Yep.
and I didn't have to give that to anybody to read. I didn't have
Correct.
to share that with anybody. It was just one of those things. And so
So
now when I go back to trace
ah,
my journey,
yeah.
I see it and I'm like, yo, Killer, you were at this. That was a terrible place though, but look
Exactly.
how
Yeah.
far we
Exactly.
came.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it doesn't mean that you need to become an oversharer now and just go talk to everybody like, listen, this happened, this happened, this
Exactly.
happened, this happened. If that's not you and you don't want to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? Start
Yeah.
writing, because in that you'll see the patterns, you'll see things that could help you figure out, yo, I know where this came from. And you
Came
can see
from.
where you need to do some of the work, you know?
I usually explain journaling to my clients like this. I say, think of yourself as a computer. If all remains on the hard drive, your computer is most likely to shut down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to take things from here and put it on an external drive, your paper, get
Yeah.
it out and free up some space here. Free some space up. Journaling is a great idea. It's a really wonderful idea. Every time you say Keela in the caption, Auntie Sherry, so
Akela.
so I
Akela.
also have
Sorry.
some tips for if you are so you may not be that person who was silenced. I also have some tips for people to
Silencers.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You may be a silencer or you may be around people because that would be real. I sure you come across a silence,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
One, you must create space for people to feel safe. Let's
Yeah.
be honest. 100% of the time, the reason why people do not come to speak to you is because they do not feel safe for
Yeah.
Exactly.
numerous reasons.
You like to
You either
gossip
put
too
them down.
much.
Say that again.
Like to gossip too
Oh
much.
gosh, the gossip. They
Yeah.
don't feel safe around you. Ask yourself. I really want you to ask yourself this as a parent, as a friend, even in all your relationships. Ask yourself, why is it that they would not come to
To
me?
you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's because they do not feel safe.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
feel safe telling you.
They
I'm
don't
not saying that this
trust
is the
you.
case all the time.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm not
It
saying that
happens
this is
with
the case.
kids when parents a child tells you something that's big to them. It is
Correct.
huge to them in their world. This is a huge thing, and before they even walk away properly, you start telling it. Some another adult next thing they say, "Where's that?" And you just spill it, and so this child just feels like,
Yeah,
"Yo, this was a big secret. I trusted you," and then you just tell it
exactly.
to
Hmm.
your whole
Tell
family. Like
somebody else. Listen.
that's traumatic. That
You
is
want to get
traumatic.
my
They
daughter
do it
mad?
in this, sorry, the same thing that you said with the sarcastic jokes. That's how they
Yes.
do it. They tell
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but in a
Exactly.
joking, like in a sarcastic way. And it's
And
like,
Uh-huh.
everybody
no,
joking about something that was huge and personal
Exactly.
and big
that
to
don't
you.
feel good.
That's
It
what
That
doesn't.
it
It
my,
never
don't.
does.
my daughter not having it. If she sends something for mommy or let she get a phone, she thinking she on top of the world. I be sister messaging my mother every morning. Mind you, we live in the same house. Messaging my mother every morning. Some message she sent for me and mommy find it was funny and
Oh
sent
God.
it to me. Let me tell you, I got a lecture in the bedroom. I don't find it's fair because if I send something for grandma, that's between me and grandma.
You're
Why?
right.
Why is she sent up and that goes back to the point you made just now, right?
Yeah.
She was
Right.
not having it. She was not happy with that. That's
Oh.
between you and I.
Yeah.
Please don't share my thing anymore. If I wanted everybody to have it, I would send it to everybody. And she's a
There we
little
go.
person. People
Yeah.
need to feel, children need to feel safe, as
Safe.
funny as it
Yeah.
sounds.
Yeah.
Children need to feel safe. Your spouse needs to feel safe. Your
Yes.
friends need to feel safe so that when they do share things that are on their heart with you, they
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
feel shut down, invalidated, like it doesn't matter. You make light of it. Like, don't do that. Create a safe space. The second thing is to check your own attitudes about different situations.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Check your attitudes. Sometimes, because of familiarity, or your own biases, you treat with people a particular way. So you already
Hmm.
have your own opinion about abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't like when women say, well, it had to be something you do. Wow. Wow, that is just throw me off. You need to check your own opinions, check your
Yeah.
biases when dealing with somebody who has been shut down.
Yeah.
It really does affect them. It's not okay. Compassion and blame is the third one, right?
Yeah.
Those are very strong medicine. Whichever dose you give, oh no, kills fall out. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But
All right. She
compassion
come
or
back.
blame are strong medication, and they could cause it could either cause harm or it could cause recovery. If you are giving more blame than compassion, obviously it's going to do more harm than good. You understand? I feel like seriously, we
Hello,
need
she
to
come back. Oh, she
Trish,
come back.
No.
what?
No. 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 Hear what happened. I
Listen, we need to
touched
start to go
something.
funny.
My
We need to
internet
start.
tonight.
It's not internet.
Ah.
No, I touched something. I clicked something, and then I was like, "What's the screen?" I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was now about to plead with the people and start a GoFundMe.
I'm not against this. Carry on. Sorry. Carry on.
So I was just making the point, right?
Right. Go
Something that
ahead.
we need to practice also is compassion. Compassion and
Yes.
blame, they're very strong medication. Whichever one you
Hmm.
give the most of is going to determine whether that person recovers or if they
Hmm.
completely shut down. Be
Yeah.
careful, show compassion, be compassionate because
And
you
understanding.
and understanding because you imagine that I'm already fragile and I
Yeah.
come to you and I share with you. And instead of being compassionate, so put yourself in the shoe of somebody who was sexually assaulted. And
Yeah.
you start and the first thing to come out your mouth is, you sure that really happened?
Yeah. Oh, what else wearing? What else
Listen,
wearing? You was drinking? Like,
yeah,
listen.
that's not the time for that.
Let me not go
Let's
down this
not
road.
do
I'll get
that.
upset.
Show
It's how people
compassion,
is really try to
empathize, to
Yeah.
make
blame,
certain
to
things.
cast blame.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ugh.
To cast blame. And that does not help. If you do
Yeah.
that, if you practice that, then you need to stop. And
Yep.
I mentioned earlier, um, separating bad behavior from your identity. It's not that people are attacking you or anything like that. Separate that bad behavior from your
From
identity.
your
You
identity.
did
Yes.
something wrong. You're not a bad
Yes.
person,
It is true.
right?
Yeah.
It is true.
Yeah.
Listen, Dalton, I dropped off for all of 10 seconds, about half an hour more. What kind of thing is this? How you checking time? You understand? I feel like it's God, a day in our life, 1,000 years is a day in God's
Yeah.
life, and that's just
Yeah.
like we need half an hour back. All right. So, guys, the reason why we wanted to talk about this topic tonight is because it's something that a lot of people have experienced. Other people silencing them and feeling like you've lost your voice and walking around responding to things not based on what is happening, but responding to it from the trauma that you would have experienced. And then, in
Yeah.
addition to that, we want to be the type of people that don't silence others, especially when it comes to our little humans, kids, grandkids, just other people in general. We don't want to be the type of people that continue hurting other people and
Yeah.
perpetuating the cycle of trauma, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, we want to encourage you to tell your story and to let you know that it is possible to find your voice. And on that note, earlier in I think it was in our first episode, our very first episode, we would have said that we were planning to do a book. And do you know what time it is? It is book time. So we are
Ooh.
Wait. So, okay.
Yeah.
Ta-da-da-da.
right. So sincerely her story, and let's talk about it. The podcast. We are about to get ready to publish our very first book, and we want that book to incorporate. What is happening with my words tonight? We want that book to incorporate not just our stories, but to incorporate your stories as well. Because in as much as we have our stories to tell, we believe that you have stories to tell, and we think that your stories are powerful, and we think that there are a lot of people who have things that they would have liked to share, wish they could have shared,
Yeah.
or and need a platform to do that. And we want to give you that platform. So from today, start envisioning yourself as an internationally published author, because that is what
Yes.
could happen if you
Boom.
submit a story to us to go into our book. So I'm just going to give you a rundown, right? So we have three different categories. You can either submit a short story between 5,000 and 8,000 words. You can submit a poem. Yes, Marcus, we know you have plenty stories soon. Write them down, right? Right? Write them down. You can do a short story between 5,000 to 8,000 words. A poem. The poem does not have a word limit to it, so you can send us a poem, or you can do an illustration, because we understand that while some people may be able to write their story out in words, some of you might be illustrators, graphic designers, artists, and you would better be able to speak about your unspoken trauma through a visual. Now, we will need a short paragraph to accompany it because we want to make sure that we send the right message when we
Right.
put your story out there. And all of these will be incorporated into our first book, which will be Sincerely Her Story, Unspoken Trauma. For persons who are graphically and artistically inclined, we are hoping that we can use one of the illustrations as the book cover, which would be huge. Like, you would not only
Yeah.
be in the book, but your
Yeah.
work could be the cover of our
Cover.
book. And the purpose for it really is that we want to get the stories out there. We all have healing to do, and we heal from each other's
Yeah.
stories. And we want to create a platform that you can share your story with other people. You can get your story out, especially if you have something that you have never said to anybody
Yeah.
and you always wanted to talk about it. We are giving you that platform. We will launch the website section for the book within the next week, and that will give
Hmm.
you all of the guidelines. It will give you the disclaimers. Everything will be spelled out there. We hope to give you some prompts there to help with your writing and get the creative juices
Yeah.
flowing.
Nice.
But ideally, we want to hear from you. What will happen is that we will choose the top stories to go into the book, but persons whose
Uh-huh.
stories did not make it into the book, your story will not die in our inbox. We are going to feature them on
Publishing.
our
Yeah.
blog. We are going to publish them
Yes.
electronically. So, guys, get ready, start writing, start thinking, start jotting down your notes because we want
Yeah.
to hear from you. We want your stories, we want your poems, we want your illustrations. And I think that this book is going to be really, really powerful. If you are not
Yeah.
a good author, if you feel like, well, I'm not really a writer, I'm not sure, send us the raw material because we have
Yeah.
editors. So we're going to
Yeah.
get it edited. So you don't worry about editing it, worry
Yeah.
about giving us the
Your
story.
story.
The
And
story.
That's what we want.
to the mothers especially, we would love to hear your stories because I
Yeah.
think most times as children, as your children, we
Yeah.
don't understand what you went through because you didn't tell us these things. We want to
Yeah.
be able to understand you. So please share your story with us so we can at
Yeah.
least have an idea of what it is you went through or
Yeah.
you experienced with your mother.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
You
yes,
and
know?
and
yes.
and an important part of this for those of you who may be a little skeptical, like, I'm not sure if I want everybody to know. Don't worry, it will be done anonymously.
Yes,
Wow.
anonymously.
Yes,
Right.
yes. So we
Yeah.
are
Right.
creating a space
So
for that as
so
well.
we will protect your identity. You don't have to worry about people knowing that this
Yes,
story is actually mine and all of that, right? We
Yes,
yeah.
thought about you.
Dalton, we
yes,
want your stories too. We want men too. Men, yes,
yes,
we want men.
yes. We
Yes.
Auntie
want
Jeanette,
men's
yes,
stories
I
as
want your
well.
I am
story, Auntie
for
Jeanette.
sure.
I want your
Wonderful.
story.
Listen, the one
Right. So
disclaimer
look
I'm
out
going to
for
put
more.
out from up front, please, please, please do not give us a story that you will have published elsewhere, either electronically or in a published book or a magazine, right? So we want
Yeah.
an original story, right? We don't want to have to run upon some lawyers and thing and look like we steal other people's stuff.
Much
So
dramatic
if
behavior.
wow, the guys, we want men, gentlemen, give us your stories. We want your stories.
Yeah.
So look out for that. We'll definitely do a post about it. You'll be able to go onto the website. Everything you should be able to submit from our website. So it's going to be clean, it's going to be seamless,
Easy.
it's going to be beautiful, and we are going
Yes,
to have a book. And
yes.
you have 2 months to submit. So we're gonna start taking submissions from next week, and
Next
you're gonna
week.
have until the end of November. And listen, I tell you, let me get in lecture mode.
Oh, teacher
Let me be
Q's is
clear.
coming out.
Should pull out your
If
whip.
you do not submit your story by the deadline, I cannot help you. Nisa cannot
Oh,
help you. JC cannot help you. I promise you. Right?
yeah.
So you have until the end of November, and your late submission means late work for our editors. It means late work for our proofreaders. It's going to push
Yeah.
everything back out,
Yeah.
and we have a timeline. So, with that being
Yeah.
said, by the end of November, send us your
Yes.
story. So, guys, we are 1 hour and 9 minutes in Dalton. I think you're more than give back your time for me dropping off.
Eh,
So we are about to wrap up. So I want to hear everyone's
okay.
final thoughts,
Oh
and
yeah.
we're gonna start
Um,
with
we do have a question that came up.
oh
Kids, can people mail them in as well for people who are not computer literate?
Sure.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
would.
Yes.
There
definitely.
will be an address on there where you can send it to, so
Yeah.
you can
Mm-hmm.
mail it as well. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll
definitely we'll
we'll
have
take
that.
emailings. We will take
Yeah.
emailings.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we are gonna get our final thoughts, and I'm gonna start with JC, and then Anissa, and then
Yep.
myself, and then that's us for tonight. Jace.
So, one big thing for me that I think people need to really, really start doing is listening.
Yeah.
Listen, listen, listen. So, my final thought will all be on listening. This is by Dean Jackson. It says, listening is an art that requires attention over talent, spirit
Mm,
over ego, others over self.
I love that.
I love that.
I love that. I love
I
it.
I love
can't
that.
drop my mic, but
But
mic drop.
yeah, mic drop.
Niece?
I will have the opportunity to read that again because I feel like I need to soak that in a little bit. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and shameless plug, go over to our Instagram page and like
Yes.
that
Yeah.
post when it comes up, our sincere thoughts, right?
Yes.
So my
Yes.
final thoughts for tonight. The best decisions are made from love and
Mm.
not fear.
Yeah.
The
Oh.
intent and reasoning behind every decision are more important than the decision itself. My
Mm.
final quote
All
is
right.
by Rebecca Solute. She's a Wendy, right? Silence and powerlessness go hand in hand.
Oh.
Everyone's voice deserves to be heard.
You heard it.
Speak up.
Yes. Love it. I love it.
Snaps.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. So I actually wrote a quote down this week, would you believe? Um, so your fate is not the dark, dismal past you endured, nor the fairy tale world you often imagine. Instead, your fate is one filled with kindred spirits who empathize with your journey and can offer support and encouragement moving forward. And
Wow.
so tonight,
Love
my
that.
encouragement is to speak up and lean into your space because all the terrible things that happen is not your fate. The
Yeah.
fairy tale world that you are imagining is not where you're going to end up, but you do have people who will empathize and journey with you and help you to be the best version of yourself. So I hope
Yes.
that we all find our voices moving forward.
Yay.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
Oh,
yes,
Speak
yes,
up.
yes, yes.
heart,
Speak
Speak
up.
up,
heart.
Even if it's in a whisper, speak.
Yeah.
speak up,
Still speak.
Speak.
Even if
speak
you're
up,
It's okay.
speak up,
whispering,
speak up.
speak. Yeah.
Baby steps.
All
Yeah.
right, so
So
guys, we
shout
have
outs.
yes,
Oh, don't forget to
hey,
shout
Hey,
out.
hold
hey,
on. Let me give
hey.
a shout out. I have a couple shout outs tonight.
All right.
One, Auntie Jeanette. Thank you for joining us. Big
Yes.
shout
Hey,
out to you, Auntie Jeanette. Kian.
hey,
Good night, Kian. It's a pleasure having you on. Chriselle Lewis. It's a pleasure seeing
Yes.
you on tonight. I love it. I love it. Keisha. Yeah, you guys
yes.
are awesome. And let me just
Um,
say, my dad, John. Yeah,
Yay.
big. I just want to give a little shout out to my dad, John. You know, and my mom, me
John,
life
the real
guru or anything.
MVP.
The real MVP.
The real MVP.
Yeah,
Oh, we
yeah.
have our regulars, right? So Dalton, thanks for coming on. Marcus, thanks
Yes.
for being here again. Auntie Sherry, thanks for
Yep.
being here. Kiefer, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Auntie Lynn, hi, happy belated birthday,
Hi,
guys.
Mama.
Yeah,
This week
happy
was
belated
Auntie
Yes.
Lynn's
And
birthday.
birthday.
then
Happy
do start
belated
our
birthday.
birthday talk, please. Do not start our birthday talk, please. I saw some new people tonight too. I saw
Yeah.
Jillian Chincham. I saw
Yeah,
Oh,
Chanel
good
Gaines.
night.
Thank you for passing through. Hi,
hey.
Keishel. Well, I know we love all the
Kish.
bad. Thanks
Yeah,
for
like
coming back.
food. Like
Yes.
how Marcus like curry.
We love all
Oh,
the
they don't start him now. Don't start him now.
Yeah, Dalton. Yeah, Dalton. Come back tomorrow.
Listen, listen. Oh, we
Dalton, go
have
and start to
somebody
write your
from
story.
YouTube.
That's
And
that's
that's
that's my dad. That's John.
oh, hey John.
Oh,
Hey
hey.
John. Hey John. All right. So Shoma, good night, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for all of the support
Carry
so far.
on.
We love you all. We love sharing Thursday evenings with you guys. We're going to see you all next week Thursday. Don't forget, jot your points down for the book. Coming out big
Yes,
with
yes,
it.
yes.
Tonight was awesome, guys. Thanks for the great energy, as
Yeah, that was nice.
always.
Yeah.
And we will see you all again next week, Thursday.
Yep.
Yay.
Oh,
Thank
Maki.
you guys.
Hi, Auntie
Bye,
Lisa.
Sky.
All right. right, guys. Thank you very much, and see you guys next Thursday.
Next week
Hasta la
Thursday.
vista.
Bye.
Bye.